Us. Oh, sorry. Hey, everybody. This is B from Kongs R Us, and welcome to a Sunday Funday show. Thank you so much to Justin Console Kits, who was hanging out backstage and extended his show. So if you're going to be watching his show, hopefully you guys give him a like. He's talking about Blitz and lots of other things. And there's a big show tomorrow from Arcade1Up that's going to be announcing something. And I think we can all assume it could be Blitz. But I didn't want to talk about Blitz and keep going down the wagon of talking about all the releases. I wanted to talk about something else that I've been wanting for a long time. And I was like, I had a free weekend where I finally was like, all right, let's finish up a long time project. And I'm sweating and I'm about 15 minutes late because I did it. I finally finished my Star Wars Arcade Trilogy mod. And why did I go down this route? I could play this game on my Star Wars cab. I did this mod a while ago where I could play Star Wars Trilogy on my yoke. But I think a lot of the recent hardware updates from Arcade1Up and a lot of different folks have been clamoring for some new titles. And I know that Star Wars Trilogy has always been one of those ones that's like on the cusp of potentially being available for folks. And yeah, Vessel says he's so jealous. He wants Trilogy, but we're still, I think, a few years away. So Sega Model 3 is the emulator that runs Star Wars Trilogy. So here it is. This is my Star Wars Trilogy Arcade1Up mod that I put together. This is from a asteroids base cabinet. I'm gonna just do a quick tour of what I did so you guys can get a tour of it, and then we're gonna turn it on and check it out for the first time. I really just tested it a little bit. I haven't really done some full-on controls, but this was a Gen 1 Star Wars or asteroids cabinet that I got the graphics from Repro Arcade. So Sean Misselbrook hooked it up with the graphics there, and I had this Marquee, the top part of it, for a long time for my buddy George Adana. He 3D printed this top part right here, as well as this acrylic glass. The actual base of the Marquee is Angel Otero Jr., who have made this kind of base that has this plastic part that clips everything together. And the glass frame that George put together kind of sits into it. And I had this for maybe about, I want to say like 2 years. I had this frame, this top part, and it was literally just this 3D printed part right here, this glass frame, and this little plastic part. And that was it. And I didn't know how to put it together. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And then it finally dawned on me that I needed a base to be able to install it onto there. So when I started finagling around, this print was from, I think, Arcade Graphics a long time ago. Normally, it's just like this straight print, and then you would just cut out this section right here. And then lo and behold, I was able to have a, there's Mrs. Kongs R Us, a nice 3D printed version of the Star Wars Trilogy arcade, which is so iconic. And so once I figured that out, I was like, yes, I'm going to get this going. This is a 20-inch Dell FPB that Bobby Vu, my boy Bobby Vu, helped me install. And so I have the custom plexiglass on here. Again, I cut out the graphics for this. But the coup de grace, the main highlight of this particular cab on why I wanted to do this cabinet was because a while back, I purchased a Suzo Happ analog throttle. This is a legit Suzo Happ arcade analog throttle stick that you would find on a real Star Wars Trilogy machine. So either this, you might find it on a Battle Pod, you might find it on a Virtuon, but this is an analog stick. So it has two potentiometers underneath of it. I can pull it off so you guys in a sec. But I didn't want to just do this mod and use one of those Ultimark sticks that a lot of folks might have used before. Nothing wrong with that. If you wanted to go an Ultimark Ultra Stick, I think the first person I ever saw do one of these mods, shout out to Cool Toy. I think one of the very first videos I ever watched about Arcade1Up mods was his Star Wars Trilogy mod, and he used an Ultimark flight stick, a 360 flight stick, and so that was definitely cool to use. But I was like, I kind of like the feel of the real arcade hardware. This is a $200 arcade stick from Suzo Happ. I bought this directly from them. And then after that, I pretty much had my same know-how on how I modded my Star Wars machines. And lo and behold, here we have this. I see a bunch of people that are just coming into the stream right now. Thank you so much, Justin Console Kits, if you guys are watching there. And Justin, hopefully, if you're watching, you can feel free to come back and talk Star Wars. And we'll be going right up until, the top of the hour, where 19K Fox is going to be doing a huge giveaway for another legacy cabinet. So here's just kind of the rest of the tour of the cabinet itself. Artwork is pretty plain on the sides, and this right front portion of it, I was at first confused why it was so white. But when I looked at the real arcade cabinet, the bottom part is all white. So this riser is super plain, but it really kind of gave me an idea of what it could look like. But I wanted to keep the rest of it really simple. But that's it. Real arcade stick. I'm going to turn this on in a second. But before I do, I got to thank my buddy Justin Console Kits for stalling for another good 15 minutes until I was ready to set up. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Like, I'm pretty tired because I was
Doing
at the
good?
state fair all day. But when you say Star Wars, I had to come. And I just joined your live stream on YouTube, and you're like, come on if you want to talk Star Wars. I'm like, oh, I'm in.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, I mean, Star Wars Trilogy for you, is this one of those cabs that you would, I think you've talked about this. This would be like your one cab you would buy, but you already have one. So like if Arcade would made one, would you still buy one, or are you kind of done you past that?
I don't really know because I love full size arcades and I love
Mhm.
small arcades. So the Arcade1Up. So I haven't received my full size arcade, the Sega trilogy, the Star Wars trilogy yet.
Mhm.
Because the deal that I have with that guy is he ships it when he's in town. So
Got
he
it.
said about a month away, and that was about 3 weeks ago, I want to say.
Okay. All right.
So hopefully I'll see it soon. So I don't know if they came out with one, maybe I would get it still,
Just to have it.
and then
I know.
I'd compare them or something. I don't know.
Yeah. How's the condition of yours? Do you have to do any repair work that you said in terms of the controls or the anything else?
Just the stick. The
The
buttons
stick.
work on the stick,
Okay.
but when you move it around, it doesn't do it. So I
Okay, so
need your
then
help.
you would be interested in this then. So this
Yes.
is exactly what I did. I bought a brand new Suzo Happ stick. So if in the worst case scenario you had to buy a brand new stick, you could just swap it out. So it's about $220 shipped, I think. So it was definitely hefty. It's super expensive, right? But these are legit hardcore arcade sticks. So I'm going to lift off the panel so you can see the bottom side of it and you can see exactly what you'd be working with. But I
Okay.
installed it underneath. There's the giant stick and it comes like super lubed up. Look at this. There's like all
Oh my
this
gosh.
real
Now, is
legit
it
arcade
lubed
lube. It's
for a
pre-lubed.
reason?
I think just to kind of keep the longevity of the parts from like breaking, I think just to kind of
Okay.
keep it. So I mean, it's meant to be like replaced into real arcade hardware, but you have one pot here, another pot here, and then the actual connections are
Hmm.
connections into a JAMA board, I would say, because there was no other connections into a PC or anything. So I had to do some wire splicing, which was very simple. I've done this with a lot of other things. But yeah, all you need to do is probably just check to see if these pots are good or bad. And you can test them in a variety of different ways, and then you'd be good to go. But other than that, you should be able to get access to it. And in me, yeah, I use my good old Geek Pie encoder, which is long sold out, but I have a few for a rainy day. I love this encoder because not only does it read digital signals like regular buttons and sticks, but it can register analog signals from pots like this in the
Okay.
original yoke.
Yeah.
So whenever I do a yoke mod or this mod or a steering wheel mod, this is like my go-to encoder because it's very versatile. Just wish they would be more on sale. People have been asking me for this because it used to be about 20 bucks. They're sold out. I think you can find them on eBay for a lot more, but they're just hard to find. I haven't found like a really good replacement encoder, but that's it. That's the stick, and you'll be good to go, man. Very
Good.
simple.
That's what I needed to know about that. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I was wondering that. So, have you ever seen it where the pot does go out?
Yeah, either that. I would check the wires first to make sure that the
Okay.
wires are connected because normally, like the pots don't receive any other power. I mean, the basics of a
Mm,
potentiometer is that there's a 5-volt signal, a ground, and then this middle signal is the actual range, right? And so you can test each one to see if, like, these are daisy chained right now. So the 5 volts are daisy chained to each other, and the
okay.
grounds are daisy chained to each other. So then coming out of these two are only 4 wires, right?
Well, that's
So
easy.
that's it. And then you just got to double check each one. Worst case scenario, again, check the wires. Then I get it. Replacing the pots, I think would be very simple if you need to go that route. But I think it's probably more wires and connections than anything.
Yeah. Now, let me see if I can repeat it back because this is what I would do. And I'm always amazed that I feel like things are a lot simpler than a lot of people think, but maybe
Hmm.
it's more complex. Let me know. So what I
Yep.
would do is start with tone, and I would take the ground, and I would see if I get a beep on something that I know is ground, and
Hmm.
that and if that's not working, then obviously that wire's got a problem.
Hmm.
But if that is working, then the wire that's 5 volts, I would then go to the meter and say measure voltage,
Hmm.
and then I should hope for 5 volts, and I'd probably test it on something known 5 volts and be like, yep, that's working, and see if I get 5 volts. And lastly, I would check the pot output and see if I can see that voltage go up and down by using that voltmeter.
Yeah, that would probably be the best sophisticated way to do it. When I do it, I plug it into like an encoder and be like, does it give me a signal? Yes or no? And then I just
I
keep
see.
plugging stuff in.
And you
So
just
for
keep
me,
wiggling the wires
I
until it
do a
see if it
lot of
works.
trial and error when I do
Okay.
my wiring, especially like because I've never wired this up before. So my first sense was just like, okay, I kind of know how this works. I know where the signals are coming from, and then for my encoder board, these are really nice because this is a 3-pin JST connection. So it
Mm-hmm.
has like a ground, a 5 volt, and then the pot, but it has separate input. So I had to change a 4 input into 2 separate 3 inputs, and so I
Okay.
just had to
That's the
daisy chain.
splicing you did.
Exactly. So I,
Okay.
just some basic splicing and wiring. And once I figured that out, the range on them wasn't great, but you can use when I'm using a computer, I can calibrate it afterwards. And so I was able to calibrate it and test that range. So you'll have to do some testing once you get it up on your regular board to check, make
Mm-hmm.
sure that the range is good too. That could be the other thing that could be bad on your pot, is that maybe the range is limited and it's not going all the way. I don't know in the real game if there's a stock setting to calibrate your. I would assume so, but I've not tested it on the emulated version of it, but I would definitely test that for performance. But once you're ready to go, adding in some extra buttons. I think these are like the pretty much the same 50 millimeter buttons that you would find on yours, and then all I did was add a start and coin button and my little switch to turn on the whole thing. So I can screw this down, can turn it on, we can check it out, and
Mm-hmm.
then go from there. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Let me know if you have any questions just in the chat. What do you have you done any of these 20-inch Dell monitor mods before?
I have some 20-inch monitors, but I have not yet installed them on any cabinet. I basically grabbed them right when I started hearing the prices were going up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would find some deals and I grabbed them. So I have them. And so I want to do the mods. I'm also interested in your build, your PC build, and how that all works.
Yes. Yeah. So my Star Wars build that I do it's become my like go-to base for a
Mm.
lot of my mods. Like I use that as my base for my racing mod. I used it as my base for my Tron mod just because I like these unique flight sticks. But it's pretty versatile. But yeah, I'm probably gonna remove all the racing games, but all the flight games that I can use off of this will be really fun to play. I think I can even use Battle Pod on the same setup. It probably uses
Really?
the very similar stick too, so that's gonna be really fun on here.
Do you know we
But
have another Star Wars fan that wants to join the
we
show
do.
as
You want to
well?
bring him on?
Yeah, Mr. 19K Fox, the Star Wars troll
What's going
himself.
on, man?
Did someone say Star Wars?
Yeah, we've been talking so much about football, Blitz, and NBC2. I was like, all right, I gotta put another wish list item out there. In fact, I used my quick Illuminati connections to ask, am I wasting my time, John? Just straight up. And he just said, I forgot what he said. He said something cryptic. He was like, I don't know. Anything is possible. I think that's what he said.
He should have said, "These are not the droids you're looking for."
These are not the droids you're looking for. I mean, like, come on, am I wasting my time? But in all reality, though, okay, so I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the stream. Star Wars Trilogy is a Sega game, but it's running Sega Model 3 emulation. And we're not even at Sega Model 2 yet, which is the Daytona and House of the Dead. So with that not even being out yet, and then another cycle of development for Model 3, my opinion is that this is at least a few years out in terms of having a chipset that is cheap enough for them to produce a cabinet like this. So any thoughts on that? Is that reasonable?
I'm just mesmerized by why the Marquee looks so awesome.
It looks really good. That looks really
Like
good.
if Arcade1Ups doesn't look this good, they got
It's
Gotta
a
go
lot
back to
of
the drawing
JRE
board.
game. But I have a guess, if you can tell in here, these are not the droids you're looking for. It is indeed Mrs. Congress. How are you?
Is she Princess Leia?
Good. I know she's about to save me because like I'm sweating. I know it's super hot where we are. But hello, you are right here.
Eyes up here.
Eyes
Hello
up here.
there.
Hello, hello. How you doing? Good. Do you want to come over here? Hang out. All right. So we're gonna turn this on in just a second. Fox, were you gonna be making like a mod like this? You said that you might be inspired. No.
So no, definitely inspired. Absolutely. This looks really, really good. And yeah, I think regardless of your affinity with Star Wars, a lot of people hold Star Wars Trilogy Arcade near and dear to their hearts. It's a really great game. It's a fun experience. Add on top of that, the fact that I'm a big Star Wars nut. I've gone back and forth about modding, starting with a cabinet. What do you do? This looks really good and inspires me, but I've actually thought about what if I recreate one for one, a full size version of this. You can't find them for
One
less than
for
2K.
one?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you try to find one, even as a stand-up, you're going to pay around $2,000. So I think at that point, you're in the realm. It's feasible to maybe consider a one for one rebuild from ground up, scratch build. So I'm toying with the idea.
I'll
Well,
give you
hold
all
up.
the measurements of mine. How about that?
I know.
Hold up.
I got a
So,
PC build for you. Go ahead.
when was your first time seeing a Star Wars Trilogy arcade? I'm curious, like for all y'all, like
Oh gosh. Me personally, it was at the mall. Lufkin is the big city that I grew up in, or near in East Texas, and they had a mall, and it was there, and it was like, what is this beautiful thing that I'm seeing? I was always a fan of the original, and then when Episode One came out, I was losing my mind. But there's something about this game. It's sort of, in a way, in my opinion, it is a true evolution of the Atari version right here. It really is
Absolutely.
taking that and amping it up to 11 and making it just better. And it was so fun. Of course, Episode 4 is my favorite.
console kits.
I don't remember. Like, it's funny because for a while there, I had forgot what the game looked like, the Star Wars trilogy.
Mhm.
And someone in the chat was like, it's basically the same as the 32X version. So I started playing the 32X version. I'm like, this is lame. What are you guys talking about, right?
It's
So
not
then
bad.
I'll look online. I'm like, oh, totally. I remember this game. I just don't
Mhm.
remember where, but I played it many times.
Movie theaters.
It's probably
I
movie
would
theaters.
see. I would see a lot of movie theaters.
But when was your first time that you've seen them?
Probably as a teenager at a movie theater.
But it was like
What?
a side
Is
thing.
that-
It wasn't like this is the game that you sought out to play.
Yeah, it was also one of those expensive games that I
Yes.
didn't want to fork over a lot of money for, because you would start and
Absolutely.
then yeah.
So
I was
that's
very picky with my coins back in the day. I had to like choose which games I could play. I always wanted to play it. I didn't want to pay $1 to play it. So
right.
But I
it was
love how
expensive.
it wasn't like a fun game. It was kind of lame. Yet we now have one in our
No, he's
house.
talking about the
Oh
32X
wow.
version.
Oh
No,
boy.
this,
32X version.
this is an amazing version of the game. In
Yeah.
fact, all right, I'm
that
gonna
one's better.
go ahead and boot it up so we can see it in action.
Sorry, I got confused about the game.
You're getting him in trouble, Justin.
I'm just trying to figure out why we have another arcade in here when he said we're supposed to get rid of one, which is still sitting there.
So this used to be before I got Tron was my Tron mod. I skinned this as a Tron cabinet, and then it was sitting here for about
I
a
see.
year because I found out that Tron was coming out, and I was like, all right, I don't need another Tron. So it was sitting in my background for a long time, had a 20-inch monitor in it already. It really wasn't until I figured out how to do this marquee that I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I just started like tinkering, and that's like for both of you who are modders and tinkerers, when you kind of get
Mhm.
into that zone where you're just kind of creatively figuring out something.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I had a piece of plastic. I had a base from Angel Artero Jr. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make this work and make it sit. And it looks really decent. It's really jerry-rigged though. So, I mean, just so that, let's make this full screen for a second. So you can see this base is like what if you ever had an Angel Marquee, it's just kind of like this flat part, and this is acrylic, and this is the base. And then this is 3D printed right here. And then this is like
Really?
another piece to help cover it because there's this big gap right here. And then there's nothing in the back. There's just it's just plain and empty right now because I haven't figured out a way to cover it up. But
It still
nobody's gonna
looks
tell from the
really
back.
good. The
I think it
3D
looks really
print-
good.
Yeah.
you like it?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think it looks really good. It wouldn't
Even on
take
this
much.
Gen 1 form factor, like with the side things, like it still looks okay.
It actually looks
Yep.
pretty cool.
It makes it looks really good. Yeah. I mean, I've never really hated those side panels either, but this takes it to kind of a step above, right?
These
yeah,
are like
I mean,
the-
if Arcade1Up came out with it with that exact form factor, we would all hate on it for sure. But
Yeah.
like
Right.
as a mod, it's really cool.
Yeah. I think if doing a mod having this marquee is really what makes it stand apart than
Mhm.
anything. So that's
Mhm.
the different portion of it. So I was like, okay, I figured that out. I skinned everything. I started this Friday afternoon is when I started it. And so I've already kind of
Wow.
just been like in the zone, figuring it out. The print is from Repro Arcades. It's not exactly the same as a Star Wars graphic. It's
Yeah.
a little bit, take some liberties, but the base is also very surprising. I just didn't realize how white this cabinet is. If it comes out like it's all white in the
Right.
front, that's it. And then the sides of the risers are white too. So there's like nothing else to go with this.
The only the yeah, it's very white. The
Mhm.
front panel, it's like there's there's room for improvement there. I don't hate it. It's just like you could
It
a
needs a
coin
coin door.
door.
Exactly.
Coin door. That's what you
I'm
need.
waiting for a Retro 530 coin door when he makes his molds. All
There
right.
you
So
go.
what I did was I modded a on switch which turns on my surge protector inside, and
Nice.
so that
Nice.
should boot up. That should light up, and then of course marquees don't look good on camera, but it's really bright and washed out. But I could probably
mean
do a better, deeper marquee.
Not in
print.
person, right?
What's that?
The washout's just the camera, right?
Yeah, it's just the camera. You can't really. It's hard to tell on camera. I don't know how to
It
make
looks
that
really
better,
bright
but it's
though. I mean,
it's lit up. Yay! I probably
Yeah.
need to. Maybe I need to move the LED back a little bit too, because I mean there is some washout from the back. Look how bright that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably need to tone that down a little bit. I could probably play with those settings. But I have the buttons lit up for everything. I have a start and coin button, and then my PC set up to turn on when it detects power. So this is gonna boot up automatically in just a second, and then we'll be running. So here it is. You guys get to see Star Wars Trilogy debut. Got my playlist in here.
that's so
And while
cool.
we're waiting for it to boot,
Oh, Big D
The
has a
boot.
$5 super chat. Oh, thank you so much. Big thank you so much. If there's a sticker attached to that, I appreciate that. If you have a comment, let me know. We'll love to read that out for you too. All right. So yeah, I've not tinkered with anything else besides just doing a quick calibration to make sure that it worked. So we can get in here.
wait.
do some demo.
Before anything happens, I want it for the record that Giorgio said that he would buy that mod. So it will boot if you will buy.
She's always trying to sell my stuff. All right. So this is my little synthwave Star Wars intro music. Can you guys hear that?
Demonetized instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, right? I better start keep talking over it. All right, so that's gonna go through. Okay, let's move over here. So this is my big box playlist. All these games on here don't work just yet. But yeah, so I have normally on here like different racing games this is for when I play with my yoke mod, right? But my Star Wars list, here's my Star Wars games list that I'm going to be retesting out to see if it works. I have Star Wars Trilogy. I have Star Wars Battle Pod, which I think should work okay with this as well. Star Wars Racer might be a little funny, but I think it's possible. It would be probably more fun to play with this a wheel or something. A lot of Racers Revenge. Star Wars Rogue Squadron would be fun, but not a lot of buttons. So I might remove all the console games. Star Wars Starfighter. Oh, we can play the original Star Wars games too. I think the original Star Wars games would be really fun on this
Okay,
as well.
that would be weird. Yeah.
How does that
the
transfer
yoke.
with that joystick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you just have to mess with the controls a little bit. I'll probably remove all these like Rebel Strikes and Rogue Squadrons because console games won't work with the limited control scheme. But let's get to it. Here's Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. Hit the start button and let's get it loaded up.
We got a couple of questions, rapid fire. So Battle Pod, will it run on that hardware?
Yes. So this is a PC right now with the GTX 1050 Ti and 8 gigabytes of RAM. So you'll notice the Model 3 emulation though. Since it started and went straight to the screen, that means that there's coins left in the credits. So Model 3 emulation has a little quirks for this, and so it is one of the things I tell my folks to make sure you use all your coins before you restart the game. Otherwise, it'll just boot up straight to the machine like that, and then the Yavin stage will freeze. But here it is. Let me jump over here.
It's so cool. So I found one Star Wars Trilogy this summer. My daughter and I went and saw a movie up about 10 or 20 minutes from our house. The theater had it still.
Really?
Yeah.
And
we went to the theater early because I knew it had it because it was listed on there on the site, and I just gave my daughter a whole bunch of quarters. I filmed it too. I have
just told her to have
phone,
fun.
Like I have an entire her gameplay. I think it was 3 games I had her play. And then I was like, "What do you think of the game?" She's like, "That's like the best Star Wars game I've ever played."
it kind of is, right? I mean, I'm sure there's ways you can obviously, a little graphical bump here and there, but it's
She
so
likes it better than
fun.
Battle Pod.
I would agree.
Although I will say, this is so cute. She's 13, right? And we went to another arcade. That wasn't really an arcade. It was just like, I can't remember what it was, but they also had arcades. And she goes, "Hey, look, they have Rothrill's Jurassic Park." Like just her saying Rothrill's Jurassic Park.
Dad is so proud of you right now.
Right. Because we
So
played.
cool.
We probably played played like $10 worth of Rothril's Jurassic Park one day, and she was like, "That was great."
That's pretty fun.
B, there's some questions. So, how did the joystick feel? Like, is it like more akin to the original joystick, or what's the quality level?
Are you talking about this joystick right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, as an arcade, like a real arcade joystick, I actually have this trigger set to my volume too, so it's pretty cool. But yeah,
Oh, cool.
this real arcade Suzo Happ stick feels pretty amazing. It's super hefty arcade controls that you would expect to find if you had a real one. The triggers are nice and oh, there's 6 credits in here. So my son was testing it earlier. He was just like, credits, right? Yeah, but it feels really nice. The thing that I kind of am a little disappointed in, though, is you can see right now that it requires pots to move, and so when it springs back to center, it's not as like springy back to center, and so probably this is like a PC setting where I have a dead zone in the middle, so I'm not as accurate when I move it around. I think if you're playing a real version with your arcade hardware, that dead zone wouldn't be there, and it would be a lot more responsive. So even though I'm moving it around, I can kind of hold it in place, but it's kind of like shaking a little bit. So I might need to play with the pot settings for it because the range on my pot isn't that great, which means that like my accuracy holding it in one spot, it's actually more accurate when I'm playing with my yoke because I can kind of like hold it with 2 hands and pinpoint it. So this actually, even though it's more realistic to the arcade, I find it more difficult now playing with the real version because I've been used to playing it with my yoke. But yeah, I have it inverse where you pull back and it goes up versus down. So I think that's how it was in the real one, right? You would pull back and it would go down, or would it follow it if you go up and down? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Sure.
Yeah. So right now I have the cursor pulling up when I pull back, but I can't remember if that's the way it's supposed to be. But otherwise,
probably for that time,
emulation wise, runs great if you've ever run Model 3 emulation.
So what type of, like, if you were to buy that PC,
Mm-hmm.
How much money do you think you'd have to put in to get that PC?
Oh yeah, you can get a Model 3 PC running even without a really powerful graphics card. You can get a budget PC for like less than $100 and a really
we're
low.
selling this for $300.
No, we are not. There's a lot of labor and love that went into this. But yeah, you can get Trilogy up and running on a budget PC for like about $100, $150, I would say.
Okay.
Now, if you bought that PC, could you plug it into your television and wire up a USB controller to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think but one of my first things I ever did was I just bought one of those simple USB flight sticks and then just got my PC together and just tested it on my big screen TV before I ever put it into an arcade machine. Model 3, the way that you kind of set up the controls, there's a version of it that allows you to move your controller and it registers. The original way Model 3 emulation had to be set was you had to go into the INI file and then find the right thing and type in what you're doing. It was a lot more complicated. So if you know the right emulator, it could be set up pretty easily. Doesn't take that much power to run it, but again, the chipsets, it hasn't been something. Model 3 hasn't been emulated on a Raspberry Pi. That's like our baseline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even a Pi 4 hasn't been able to do Model 3 emulation yet. So it needs a little bit more of a powerful chipset to run Model 3 emulation.
If you were to sell this, I know you're not planning on doing this, but I just want to understand it. If you were to sell this as a kit, like you're like, hey, I'll build the control panel for you. I'll just ship the control panel. Like all I'm doing is the control panel. You got to bring your own game, PC, bring your own Arcade1Up. Like how much would that cost, or how much you would put into that?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of doing that for a long while with the regular. she's wheeling and dealing.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
you need to ask her what the price is, Justin.
she's
She'll
gonna
tell
be
you.
my auctioneer. When I was modding Star Wars, the regular yokes, this was one of the marquee games people wanted to play. This and Battle Pod. So between those two games, I was already offering kind of drop-in kits. And, even something like Glenn's GRS yoke works great with this game too. So, I mean, that I think if people are wanting to mod their Arcade1Up, my recommendation probably would be to get Glenn's GRS yoke. And that way it's already PC compatible. It's like $200. And then you would just need to invest like in a budget PC to buy something. And then, you could be up and running playing Trilogy for like around $300. I think that's the cheapest you could probably do if somebody was to do it on their own. I used to, like when I was doing commissions, I was like charging triple normal prices just to kind of meet demand. But I've officially retired from doing commissions for now, just to finish up my projects. But I was
know. Look at this chat. I got 725.
Yeah.
This money you could be
dude.
making.
Okay, so I'll tell you
B,
my
come
prices.
on.
I'll tell you my prices right now. I was charging like $750 for a panel and $750 for a PC. So I was charging like $1,500 for folks to like for a control panel and a PC, and people would be like, sure, like set it up and do it. And I was like, when I first started doing this 3 years ago, I was charging like $500 just to kind of learn the ropes. So that was like kind of my rate ish to do, just drop in panels and people would ship me their stuff. It was good. It was good. It just took up a lot of time. So and space. But yeah, that was the fun.
Sweeney Machine said that he's been building 2 trilogy cabs over the years with one of the cabs using the Ultramark. So how does that compare to Glenn's? I guess it's different.
Yeah, so the Ultramark, I know what you're talking about. That's the one that Kotoy used in his review as well. It's the
Yes,
Ultramark analog
his
flight
build.
stick. It's a good stick, but it's a little short though. And so it's short and it doesn't feel, when you're pulling the trigger on that, it's I guess you get a little bit more like fatigue pressing that trigger than like this is an arcade one that's meant to like it's super light. Like I don't know if you can feel it or hear it, but the trigger is really soft on this. And so like this is meant for like long-term play. But the flight stick works okay. I think maybe you might just look at your setup. The same emulator is still the same that you would see on everything else.
Molar Medic and I heard the same thing too.
What's
It
that?
was short, it causes fatigue.
Yeah. You definitely want a longer one for sure. Hey, B,
Yeah.
I love it, man. I really love it. This is awesome. It kind of does inspire me. I gotta go because I got a show to do a little bit later, guys.
You do.
I
We'll hang out
do,
for another
yeah.
30 minutes and
mentally
then we'll
prepared.
send them over to
Mentally
your
prepare,
channel.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Thanks,
after
guys.
this.
Appreciate it. Looks beautiful. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. And so my program, once you hold down the start button, it exits out into
Oh, nice.
your build, and then you can play your next game. You can go from there. So I haven't set up anything else. I could probably map out BattlePod really fast, but yeah,
I'd love
I
to
probably
see
should redirect
BattlePod,
my
man.
stream first to Fox's while you talk about something, so that we can stream over there.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to talk.
Yeah, talk about something with Justin. I'm gonna make sure that we I want to make sure that we send people over to Fox.
So, Mrs. Kongs, what do you think about in your room there? How many arcade devices do you guys have?
Built or like sort of sitting around? Because I see a lot of like, I just tried to go to the
something you
window,
can-
which I haven't seen in such a long time, and I found like more parts.
Something that you could walk up to, turn on, and play. Actively working in that room.
Oh gosh. Are you gonna help me like fire sale this place? Because that'd be awesome.
Maybe.
3, 6, 9, 12, 16, 18.
Now, how many do you wish you guys had instead of 18?
Many more.
What?
Many more.
0?
Yeah.
There was a time where I used to be able to nap in the den.
She said that the other day.
That's
like,
all it
"Where's my
is? You just want to be able to nap?
Yeah.
Who needs a couch in an arcade?
But have you noticed in the last couple of years how Kong has invested his time into YouTube? Is he happier or is he more stressed out? Do you think this is a good balance for your family? Let's talk about it.
We have the children shoved in our bedrooms right now on their devices. I don't know how balanced that is.
It's only for about 45 minutes, and then
I mean, there's a lot of hours in the week, right? It's just this short period where they're shoved in the room, and you know those kids want to be on their devices anyway.
They've already been on their devices. The past 2 days he was working on this mod. The past 2 days I was outside sanding our front door.
yeah, we're doing some good work in the house. When you have a house, right? There's never a dull moment. So I'm just adding to the aesthetics of one area of our house,
What
right?
about the front door?
Yeah, I was working on the front door yesterday. Arcades help add that ambiance to the home arcade space. It's homework, right? Housework, if you can consider it, right? If you're thinking with your arcades, it's a portion of the house. There you go.
That can be easily sold.
Yeah. So
So
that's-
$750. I heard that as one of those offers.
yeah, there it is. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for the cab. Any other questions? Are you excited to get your cabinet? Like, what's the first thing you're gonna do when you get your real one?
Well, check it out and see exactly, what is wrong with the joystick, because it's not playable. Hashtag not playable.
That's the only thing it was advertised as joysticks not working, but
It
buttons
looks like
work.
it's in really good condition.
Okay.
Just I got to work through that joystick. I don't think it'll be too hard. It's like you said, like worst case scenario, I have to buy a joystick. But I did get it at a pretty good deal, so I think I got room for it. Like even if I was to flip it, I think I could get my money.
But the
out
board
of it.
turned on and everything too? Like you saw it turned on with videos and pictures?
There was videos and pictures, and later I got an email or a message from someone who actually went there and I was competing with. He saw the live stream and was like, "Hey man, I took these pictures," and he told me additional details on it, reassuring me like, "Yeah, it's just like the listing said." So I'm excited about that, but I love technology in a lot of different ways. So it's not like I'm satisfied with just, okay, I got a full-size arcade and now I understand how that works. What you've demonstrated tonight is there's a way to play these games on a PC. I have numbers of PCs in my house, and I would love to just try out the build, plug it into a TV, see how far I can get with it. I've always thought about buying Glenn's yoke, but I don't really want to mod my... but if they come out with a Star Wars Pro or something like that, then maybe
a little bit.
Maybe this one would get modded at that point.
Oh yeah, let me know. I know a guy that does mods for Star Wars machines and things. If you have a PC build, I might have a playlist that works very well with the JRS yoke. So save you some time. And that's the benefit of when I was tinkering a lot with that yoke, was the configuration part of a PC. That could take hours, and I really enjoyed that component of it. And then it was fun, mapping everything, testing it out, and then sharing it with folks. I did, but I'm just saying, I'm happy to help out those that want to learn and do that stuff.
Yes.
Thanks for the $5 super chat, Billy. This is sweet. Appreciate you so much. It's going to be fun to have this next to my Star Wars arcade machine and my Star Wars pinball machine, starting to become more of a Star Wars household here. It'll be fun. We're going to be moving
wrong with that. More cosplay.
More Star Wars. Can never go wrong.
I don't believe that you can get between now and 19K Fox's stream. Do you think you can give us Star Wars Battle Pod? Because I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can. All right, talk to the people. Wow. You ran into something. Okay.
I'll be back.
Switch. All right, so I'm gonna move this over here. Turn this one on.
Okay.
So I'll show you some back end on just getting it set up really fast. As soon as I find.
Show me you do that. I'm going to switch it to that thing, right? Where it's like this. Yeah.
Okay. So for Battle Pod, I just need to make sure I remap the controls. And so I just need to go to the actual Technoparrot emulator and then map the controls, and then we can test it out. But otherwise, it should run pretty smoothly. No problem.
Now, while you do that, there was a super chat. You got that right. Bill, right? This is sweet. $5.
Yes, I did get that one. Thank you. Thanks,
There's
Billy.
A question. Hey, Nee, or B, I think is what he meant. Did you get my email for the shirt giveaway? This is from Gideon.
Yes. I got two people, Shay Glover and somebody else. I'll be shipping them out next week. So for those that want a t-shirt from me, I will ship them out next week.
Now, this is something, B, to remember. I've seen this post a few times. This is from Big D Retro. Okay, Big D Retro. He says, if you ever want me on your channel about my Star Wars Trilogy mod I made last year, please let me know. I think it would be fun. Would love to show all of the mods done to it. I promise you will love it.
Yeah, I love highlighting other folks that have done mods like this. So email me at kongzarest.arcade@gmail.com. And one of my next level shows, if anybody's done a trilogy mod, I would love to get everybody who's done one of these on, and we can compare and contrast. I would love to see that. So yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Okay, so here is Star Wars Battle Pod. But the thing about Star Wars Battle Pod is that it runs 16:9. And so this is an aspect ratio thing that you would like. Technoparrot does not have the ability right now to stretch to other resolutions besides this. So that's why it has the gap at the bottom. But this is Star Wars Battle Pod.
Don't get it, guys. 16:9. It's not worth it.
16:9. And normally, the fun thing about the stock 4:3 monitors, there's a little bit of echo. I don't know if that's me or you.
Okay. Hold on. That's me. Sorry, I just switched something.
All right.
It should be good.
All right, cool. But the 4:3 BOE monitors, when I was doing mods, I can force that square 4:3 monitor, the BOE, into a 19:20 resolution, which made this go full screen. So when I'm modding my original Star Wars, I was able to do it. But since this is a Dell FPB, the highest resolution this goes to is 1600 by 1200, and so I can't force this one. But all right, so let's do it. Let's do some Star Wars Battle Pod.
Dang it, we got another super chat. Does Miss Kong want to read it?
You want to read the super chat? Oh my goodness, do you have a costume on?
I was, and then we had technical difficulties.
Oh, you had technical difficulties?
Yeah. Okay. This is cool. I'm going to do something similar, and I want to share with you hopefully soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, very cool. All right, so here's Star Wars Battle Pod. The only thing that I didn't map out to this is the throttle. So I forgot to map a throttle. So I probably can map the throttle to like one of these buttons.
Okay.
Because normally to start the game itself, this is set up to this. You normally have to press the throttle button. It'll just play without it. So this is one of those games where you pretty much just fly around and it automatically flies for you. So you technically don't need the throttle, but it helps get scores.
Yeah. I remember playing BattlePod, and I remember the various levels on it. It seemed like the speed at which you're going felt fixed. Like it's just pulling
when you use the throttle, you'll see like the little like lines coming at you, so it looks a little bit faster. But so this is Star Wars Battle Pod, and the only bad thing is that there's this little bar there, but it's still fun. You can still play, still working well.
So with this, okay, you're talking about a PC that's about $100 to build. You're saying you can play Battle Pod on it.
No, so that for Battle Pod, you will need a dedicated graphics card, unfortunately. So the dedicated graphics card, the minimum that I would recommend for Battle Pod is a GT 1030, which runs about another $100 right now.
On its own, right?
So
just by
about so GT 1030 would be the minimum. I would recommend a GTX 1050 Ti. But the best you can get is a 1650. You remember like the great graphics card shortage of the last couple of years where they jumped up prices? So a GT 1030 used to cost like $70-$80, and then they jumped to about $125. But if you use the GT 1030, it would only run about 30 FPS.
Okay.
So if you want 60 FPS, you're looking at about a $250 graphics card.
Okay.
Yeah, for Battle Pod. It's the most graphically intensive game on Technoparrot series. But Model 3 is much easier. You can run that off a stock, almost a stock PC without much else.
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know. You can get pretty far with the trilogy, but it for me, I mean, honestly, I think building a dedicated, I mean, if you were doing a dedicated PC for your living room, right? Well, if you do a multicade, and this is basically a multicade, like you could throw a whole bunch of racers on there. You could justify that price.
Yeah, I have a lot of these budget PC builds that I've put together that can run these racing games like that. The GRS yoke is one of my favorite things because you can play racing games, you can play flying games with it. I haven't played pinball on it because I didn't have a pinball machine before I got one. I was using the triggers as left and right, and I used the pull back on the yoke as the plunger. It works. So it's just, it's such a versatile controller. It's like my favorite controller. So I would play around with the GRS yoke if you don't have one. I mean, it'd be fun to just mess with. They have mounts that you can just have it on your lap instead of plugging into something. Yeah. So
I don't know about this. Glenn, reach out to me. I gotta buy one of those from you.
Yeah, you can use a 99 Lives Arcade has one. So you can use that as a mount and then put it on your lap and then take it anywhere with you. Plug it into a PC, put it into a big screen. Good time. Yoke is like still my favorite controller of all time. Glenn's Retro Show is here. Hey, there he is.
Yeah.
Glenn, go buy Yoke right now from Glenn because he makes the best products. And I think I've bought more Yokes than anybody else besides Glenn. So I've bought like maybe 5 or 6 of them.
Miss Kongs is like, give him the affiliate link. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
As well as your like shirt. Wait, he runs away. He had a pretty rad shirt on too. But now I'm questioning why we need all these arcade cabs if it sounds like you can just run it off your TV with one of the controllers.
Sorry, B.
It's really cool. So like, look, so this actually mounts into, this is a Gen 1 board. It could actually fit into this too. I could take this off and put it on.
Wait, this is a Gen 1 board? This just looks like a...
Yeah, No, it's made by 99
would-
Lives, but this could also just sit on your lap too. And then this is just like a yoke mount.
Yeah, so why do we need all these caps?
Because it looks cooler in the cap. Stop it. Yeah, we're not selling.
$7.50?
No. Buy GRS yoke. Support Glenn. All right, so I know we're close to time. Is Fox live yet?
We're at
pretty
the
good.
30-second timeline, and Fox is starting.
All right.
I think it's time for final thoughts, B.
Final thoughts. All right, so here I am down here.
Just like your thumbnails.
I love this cabinet, Mrs. Kongzaras. This is beautiful. It's one of the dream cabinets I thought I would never own and have in the house. I'm really happy with how the Marquee turned out, and just got to be tweaking some of the last settings and seeing what other games I can play on this. But I would be happy, since I play a lot of those other games on different devices, like just having it boot straight up into Trilogy. I'm kind of starting to get simpler with my mods and not have hundreds of games. I probably will limit this to just about 3 to 5 games that I think will work at this control scheme, and we will go from there. So how about you?
Sounds good. I want to get spam one in the chat right now. Hit that thumbs up button. I want to get this chat exploded. Get this. We have this bar here that shows how many chats you have. I want to get that to be really tiny with a spam of ones, and then I think we're gonna be on. There's an opportunity to win a Yoga Flame tonight, right?
That's right. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mrs. Kongzaras, for looking lovely in her Slave Leia leash. See, she had the whole thing. She almost got.
What character are you?
Almost got in it, people. I almost tried to get her in it.
I don't understand what character she's got. Spider-Man shirt and then a leash. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Appreciate you guys. Justin, thank you so much. Head on over to 19K Fox stream, and we'll see you there. Hopefully, you guys win a Yoga Flame Cap. Let them know. Let them know that we sent you. See ya.